Hello, I'm Milan Shlevinsky and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Now tonight we need to talk about Russia's latest entrepreneurial venture, Spetsnaz Children. No, it is not a terrible idea for a cartoon. It's a real military/sports camp that somehow managed to slip beneath the radar near Suzdal. Picture this, a camp promising to train your kids in the essentials of combat and piloting drones for less than $500 a pop. What a steal! Forget summer camp songs and s'mores, these kids were getting a crash course in field maneuvering and maybe even how to program a drone to do their homework. But here is where the fairy tale takes a dark turn. Turns out this camp wasn't exactly up to snuff with local laws. Shocking. The authorities found 26 minors living in tents, without a medical professional in sight, and a staff lacking the basic paperwork to even operate a lemonade stand, let alone military training facility. The camp's director, Roman Gavrilets, insists it's not about militarization. Oh no, they're just spreading love for the motherland, because nothing says patriotism like skirting legal requirements and teaching kids to march in formation before they can even tie their shoes. This isn't the first time Spetsnaz Children has made the headlines either. A branch in Khabarovsk closed after kids reportedly turned it into a mini Thunderdome, and another in Tomsk was busted for welcoming kids during the COVID pandemic. So, to recap, Russia always innovating in the field of questionable childcare. And while they may claim to be passing on history, it seems more like they are repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Parents, be sure to read the fine print before sending your kids off to boot camp. Now, the Belarusian regime has reportedly released a handful of political prisoners. Lukashenko wants you to believe that he's benevolently granting amnesty to those who have dared challenge his iron-fisted rule, the activists, the oppositionists, the dissidents. Except, surprise, surprise, he isn't. Lukashenko says the amnesty only applies to prisoners who are, and I quote, gravely ill. Now, here is the kicker. Independent journalists have pointed out a small hiccup in Lukashenko's hand gesture. Turns out, if you're on the list of foreign extremists or labeled a terrorist, you can forget about this amnesty. And guess who falls into these categories? Yep, you guessed it. The very political prisoners Lukashenko claimed this law is supposed to help.
Не удивляйтесь, если через несколько дней на свободу выйдут очень тяжело больные, как они пишут, наши, которые не успели сбежать, находятся в местах не столь отдаленных, которые ломали и крошили страну в 2020 году. Но это действительно тяжело больные, в основном раковыми заболеваниями. Мы по-человечески подходим и относимся ко всем. Человек, попавший в беду, я считаю, не имеет гражданства, и мы должны им помогать. Потому что мы такие люди, славяне. Мы не хотим войн, мы не хотим конфликтов. Но если нас зацепят, мы вынуждены отвечать. Куда деваться? Благодарю вас.
So, let's call it what it is. Another masterclass in political theater from the Belarusian strongman. While he plays the amnesty card, real dissenters and activists rot away in his jails. It is a blatant attempt to pacify international critics, while keeping his opponents behind bars, all the while pretending to uphold justice. And that's the Lukashenko saga, where words like amnesty take on a whole new meaning. And now, for some international intrigue, weaponized hypocrisy, and the utterly unsurprising news that Russia and China are getting cozier than ever. According to Bloomberg, Chinese companies are busy developing new kamikaze drones for Russia. These drones are reportedly similar to the Iranian Shaheds drones that Putin's forces have been gleefully deploying in Ukraine for quite some time now. It seems that Russia asked Chinese manufacturers to make these drones as far back as 2023, and now Chinese engineers are hard at work ensuring the weapons can pass their tests before being shipped off to their new Russian friends. Now, let's pause for a moment to appreciate the sheer audacity of this situation. Putin, the man whose military prowess is so fearsome that he's had to outsource his aerial menace to Iran, is now getting drone assistance from China. It's like the axis of evil deciding to bring in a temp worker.
Не раз с полным на то основанием констатировали, что российско-китайские отношения всеобъемлющего партнерства и стратегического взаимодействия переживают наилучший период в своей истории. Они выстраиваются на принципах равноправия, взаимной выгоды и уважения суверенитета друг друга. Наше сотрудничество не направлено против кого бы то ни было. Мы не создаем никаких блоков и союзов. Мы просто действуем в интересах наших народов.
Now, Bloomberg sources haven't named this specific drone model, but military websites in China have been buzzing about a combat drone known as the Sunflower 200. Yes, the Sunflower 200, because nothing says peaceful intentions quite like naming a death machine after a cheerful garden plant. By the way, this is what Russians do on their home turf anyway. They name artillery pieces after garden plants. Well, Russia. Now, China, meanwhile, continues to play the part of the peace-loving mediator. Here's the same China that's providing Russia with military satellite images, microelectronics, and machinery to manufacture tanks. Imagine a burglar handing you a blueprint of your own house, a crowbar, and then saying, "Hey, I'm just here to make sure no one breaks in." It's worth noting that Chinese combat drones haven't been used in Ukraine yet, but let's be real. Beijing's support for Russia is about as subtle as an elephant in a tutu. Officially, China portrays itself as a balanced, peace-promoting intermediary between Russia and Ukraine. But beneath this facade lies a whole different story. China supports Russia because it loves a good global destabilization. When the world economy as we know it collapses, everyone will come crawling, much like Putin is now asking the Chinese Communist Party for help. So there you have it, a world where Putin, who couldn't even conquer Kiev, is bolstered by Chinese technology, and China, the supposed peacemaker, covertly supporting a war effort. It's a geopolitical soap opera with a cast of villains so transparent you almost have to admire their consistency. Almost. And so we conclude this episode of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.